Harry's Wife, part 102.36. What will they do next? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. If you're interested in what I believe is the future for Harry's wife and Harry, then all you need do is go to my videos about the future. Just search for them on my channel and you will have my observations about where they're going to end up. But other people, unsurprisingly, are offering views as to where things might get to next. And we turn once again to Hilary Rose of The Times for her observations. In a recent article, she asked the question, what next for Harry and Harry's wife? In the days leading up to the Queen's funeral, we saw, but barely heard the Sussexes. Now Harry's wife is back with her latest podcast episode. So, Harry's wife shed a tear at the funeral, and that, right there, is a whole coming up after the break anecdote for Oprah. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's time for a recap. It's just under a month since Harry and Harry's wife came back for what they and others, but perhaps especially me, hoped would be a short trip. The hint that transatlantic hostilities were about to resume was an interview in an American magazine, The Cut. On the cover, Harry's wife channeled a famous photo of Princess Diana, Princess of Wales. Character trait acquisition mirroring. Inside, she claimed that just by existing, we were upsetting the dynamic of the hierarchy. Pity play, victim mentality, grandiosity. Displaying a bafflement about hereditary monarchy that is natural in an American, but puzzling in someone married to a prince. The couple went to Manchester, where Harry's wife gave a speech. They greeted adoring crowds in Dusseldorf at an Invictus event, and, with one final charity visit yet to come, they started packing for home. And then, of course, everything changed. First, there was the dash for Scotland in the hope of a last goodbye before the Queen died. William got on a private jet with Prince Andrew, the Wessexes, and not Harry. It was announced that Harry and Harry's wife would be going to Balmoral together, hand in hand, no doubt. Alas, the prospect of Harry's +1 went down at Balmoral like a lead balloon. Kate was deployed to be visible doing the school run in Windsor, and Harry, it was duly announced, would travel alone. In Scotland, he was last to arrive and first to leave, having allegedly had barely any interaction with his brother. The soothing balm that is Prince Andrew's presence may have made up for that. Then came the walkabout in Windsor. If this was the start of a brotherly reconciliation, as many hoped, it was the sort of reconciliation in which everyone breathes out when it's over. William and Harry exchanged barely a word, and Harry's wife and Kate apparently none at all. It set a pattern for the coming days of four people in the same place acting as if they're on different planets in separate parts of the solar system. They were all at a family dinner at Buckingham Palace the night the Queen's coffin returned to London, but reports of conversation there are none. William and Harry had a brief conversation from their cars when they drove past each other in Windsor Great Park. Inevitably, there was a hoo-ha over uniforms, because there always is. Who would wear what uniform and when was eventually hammered out, only for Harry to reportedly be devastated after his uniform turned up without the ER insignia on the epaulette. The Sunday Times royal correspondent quoted a friend of Harry's as saying that he was heartbroken about the omission and considered it such a humiliation that he nearly threw all his frogging out of the pram and wore morning dress instead. He felt, it was said, as if the majority of the operation is against you. It's hard. Nobody likes to feel they're excluded. Anyone at the palace who threw their hands in the air and shouted, "Wasn't that the whole point of Megxit?" could have been forgiven. Those same people might also have remembered that before Megxit, Harry's wife cited maternity leave as the reason she couldn't accompany Harry to meet President Trump, of whom she disapproved, assertion of control by staying in a position of withdrawal. Fast forward to a state reception on the eve of the funeral, this one attended by President Biden and world leaders of whom she presumably does approve, and now you're talking, perhaps preoccupied with other things the palace machine messed up. They allegedly sent Harry and Harry's wife an invitation and then rescinded it. Cue the dread sight of tweets from Omid Scobie, Finding Freedom co-author and unofficial spokesman, and a source quoted in the Sunday Times as saying it would be beyond bonkers if they weren't there. Quite why it would be bonkers was left unsaid, but it was evidently not a view shared by anyone else. they remained NFI. Inevitably also, there was a hoo-ha over who sat where. Harry and Harry's wife were in the second row at the Abbey, but directly behind the King. It was no doubt a happy accident that the seating plan meant they couldn't be in the same close-up as the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children. They were in the front row for the service at St. George's Chapel in Windsor. Much has been made of the fact that Prince William gestured for the Sussexes to get into the pew ahead of him and his family, and indeed if you are prone to histrionics and narcissism, this may well be a sign that you're upsetting the dynamic of the hierarchy just by existing in a pew. Either way, both brothers are said to have wanted above all for the focus to be on the Queen and not them. Might there be a reconciliation, or even a truce? A source told the Sunday Times that there was no meaningful rapprochement between the brothers and that being in each other's company was difficult. They were, it was said, trying to make a show of unity, but it will not be lost on the new Prince of Wales that Harry's wife had been booked to appear on a US chat show, cancelled only because of the death of the Queen. The publication of Harry's memoirs and what he might say hangs over them all. It has been suggested that he is attempting to tone down the text. According to the Mail on Sunday, this was down to fears that some of the contents might not go down too well in the context of his grandmother's death. The New York Post, meanwhile, has claimed that a similar process is underway when it comes to their upcoming Netflix docuseries. If it occurs to Oprah that nothing and no one upsets the dynamic of a hereditary monarchy, that the clue is in the name, that she'll probably keep it to herself. Harry and Harry's wife are said to have spent the night of the funeral at Frogmore, but returned home to Archie and Lilibet as soon as possible. Below the line, in terms of observations, of which there are many hundreds, in fact 2,400, Niblo writes, hopefully they will go back to California and stay there. No reason to come back now that the Queen is no longer with us. Sick to death of them, their complaining, their narcissism, and their hand-holding everywhere they go. Love your style, Hillary. Sean W.J. Interesting to compare the value of a lifetime of service with what appears to be a lifetime of self-interest. James Proctor. Strip away everything else Harry's wife and Harry have done. Charming Harry's wife accused the royal family of racism without naming the individual in question, so they could at least rebut the allegation. She knew the impact of that, particularly in the United States, post-BLM protests. SQ99EE. I just googled this, hoping you were wrong. But there she was, in Soho House, bragging about being able to cry on cue. Harry's wife, one tear, left eye, go. Give me 3 seconds. Oh, dear. Zidor. Next, go home to the United States and stay there. They blew it long ago by surrendering to their own excessive ego. They have a family to look after in the United States. Go and do it. They already destroyed any possible bridges this side of the Atlantic. Mac, would it be possible to leave His Majesty the King and the royal family in peace for a little while to mourn the loss of Her Majesty? Elizabeth's. Hillary, your article is spot on. I am in the United States and I think your analysis is always on point. Harry's wife and company, I think, have new PR people, along the lines of those in the movie Wag the Dog. And sadly, press releases portraying them as victims are likely what we will see now, plus picking apart any article they can to try and spin it. Anna Temple. Why do 2 people who want to avoid publicity and crave privacy need a PR company? You don't need a PR company to do charitable works. Is it more like that they want masses of publicity but want to control the narrative? Susan Cartry. If Harry had wanted to do something meaningful regarding his mother's untimely death, he could have promoted seatbelt use and advocated against drink driving. The one person wearing a seatbelt of the 4 in a car was the only one to survive that speeding, drunk driving single vehicle crash. Harry's emotional claims that the media wouldn't be satisfied until his wife was dead and his mother was somehow targeted for death because her boyfriend wasn't white demonstrates how much pain he is still in. Then, further observations that come. There's some spatting with somebody from the Sussex squad, it would appear, but their comment has been deleted. Jacqueline Danielle. Harry's wife, we are so disappointed with you. At the beginning, after your beautiful wedding, we thought you'd be perfect for our Harry and the British people supported you. But you fluffed it with your me behaviour. Go back to your children and your life in the United States. You have done enough damage here. Make it up to your father. It is time you mended bridges with him. Make Harry stop the publication of his book. Helen Rooney. Go back to California, my dears, and try to live a happy life for your own and your children's sake. You wanted to leave the prison of the monarchy and the royal family. I hope the last 10 days have reinforced the position that you took. There is really nothing for you to be doing there. That was made very obvious by 2 small children being at the funeral to remind you that you are a spare 5 times over. Mend fences with your family and let the cousins see each other at Christmas and school holidays. Step up if you're asked to do so. Be grateful for what you still have. Most of all, don't disrespect your family publicly when they're in no position, or simply refuse to rise to it to answer you back. Garibaldi. If there was ever any doubt regarding absolutely massive gulf between this American actress and the royal family monarchy, then surely it became apparent on Monday. Similar vein, similar comments from people wanting them to go to the United States and stay there. Very much unwelcome. Not that Harry's wife will pay any attention to that. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.